Hey, welcome back. If you're just joining us on this episode and you didn't get the first part of the top 10 AI traps, this is part two. Um, I was surprised, honestly, of how in depth that we went. So I appreciate it. My name is Jeff Harrison, along with
Leslie Spoor.
Leslie. You did a great job with those questions. I do want to. I talked about when we talked about education, how it's challenging for teachers and it's making kids more reliant or potentially making kids more reliant on AI. They don't want to do the work. I said, hey, there's two paths, and we talked about one path the last time we were on there, and this one I want to talk about the second path.
Okay.
Again, if you miss that, make sure to go back and listen to it. I think you're going to be surprised at some of the things we talk about. Leslie, for one thing, she is so good at asking those questions. She could be a prompt engineer for Jeff Harrison. She could just prompt me to say the right things.
We're really playing Stump Jeff today to see if we can catch him in anything he doesn't know about AI, which so far we have not been able to do. We're doing the top 10 AI traps. We've done 5.5. We stopped on the over reliance on AI because he had two responses about that, one for in general, which is in the last episode, and this one particularly about schools, which we really want to hear about. So what do you have?
Yeah. So the second piece about this this is an opportunity to absolutely evolve and 100% transform our educational system. And what I mean by this is this: we have the opportunity to teach every child in a way that they learn best. And what I mean by that, if you think of the senses that we have, some kids they respond better to one or two of these senses better than the other. It's the teacher's role to try to be such a great communicator that she can communicate on all levels. That's challenging at some point. And all of a sudden you have a child who you lose their interest because they're more kinesthetic and you're auditory. Well, this is an opportunity. Imagine every child has taken a simple test. In fact, I even created this for my assistant, my project manager, Melissa, for her children to take the test. And it's 16 questions. And after you answer those 16 questions, I ask you the next question: can you then teach whatever I ask you to do? Can you then formulate it in a way that teaches me at that level? In other words, if I'm kinesthetic, it will teach me in the way I learn. So I think we have this opportunity to say, before we start class today, we're going to take these tests, 16 simple questions. You're going to answer it. The AI sitting in front of you will know who you are and how you learn best. And even though I say do X, Y, and Z, it will then teach you how to do that in the best learning style for you. To me,
That's amazing, Jeff.
I think this is a phenomenal opportunity, Leslie.
That is amazing. We need to get that somehow to people in the know in the Department of Education or whoever. What's the name of that lady that runs that now? That I mean, honestly, that is probably one of the most innovative and best ideas I've heard about teaching kids because I do a train the trainer class, as you probably know, right? And I teach about the fact that some people are auditory, some people are visual, and some people are tactile. They have to touch it and feel it and work with it themselves. And having it is tough to know how to teach people. I also taught 5 semesters at Cal State Northridge to adults, so it was continuing education learning, which is really hard when they show up after work all day to try to teach somebody at 6 o'clock from 6 to 9 at night. Not hard for me, hard for them. They've already put in a full day, and and one of the most rewarding things, and I'm sure all teachers feel this, is that when you see the concept explode in their brain where they get it, all of a sudden they just get it, right? And so have it's difficult to know if you haven't talked to somebody how they learn best, right? And so I think that idea is absolutely stunning. I would love to be able to somehow get that to somebody so that they could spread that through the whole educational industry because that's amazing.
Imagine the energy, Leslie, if you're a teacher and you have 30 kids in front of you in your classroom and you've given them the assignment, and because of that machine in front of the AI machine in front of it understands how they learn, all of a sudden 30 kids have that, I got it.
Well, it would
Imagine
make
the
it more
different
interesting. Yeah.
Well, imagine the different level of engagement you can now have with each one of those children and the whole classroom because they all got it. It's no child left behind, if you will,
Yeah,
at its
totally.
best level.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. I got to figure out how to get that out to somebody either through X or TikTok or I mean, seriously, I can totally see in my head how much better learning would be for children if they had that opportunity because most of the problem, especially for middle schoolers, I think, is that kids get bored, right? Middle schoolers have hormones and they have social anxiety and most of them can't even talk to each other anymore because they text each other in the same room. Drives me nuts. And so I think that having being able to focus on how kids learn and then it would make it way more interesting to them and give them an opportunity to actually get something out of what they're teaching. They wouldn't be bored. I guess I'm saying this a really long about way because my brain is like on fire right now. So, gosh, that's amazing. I love that.
Imagine a teacher now standing in front and saying, she puts the program or the lesson she wants to teach in front of her and says, give me the different ways of how to explain this for these different learning styles. And now she has that information in front of her. She doesn't have to guess. She can now get Johnny's attention and Jill's attention, and everybody's engaged.
Yeah, but they actually have computers in front of them, right? These days, they all
Absolutely.
have computers, so they
Yeah.
could just the assignment can come right up in front of them. It would include the information they need and how.
100%.
That's
100%.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
So I think
I think we're done with part 2 because that's about the best thing I ever heard. So
I think this would be fun. I'll send the 16 questions over to you.
I would love
and
that.
I challenge you to take that test and then think about it. If you fed that test back into ChatGPT and said, this is my learning style from this point forward, anytime I ask you to teach me something, put it in my style of learning and see if it makes a difference. I guarantee
I would love to do it with my granddaughter. One of them is 9 and one of them is 16. And I would love to see where they fall on that, which kind of learning helps them the most, especially the 9-year-old who struggles. She's been having I think she's pretty good now, but for a long time she struggled reading. And I think if we could figure out how she learns the best, it'd be easier to teach her.
And now the cool part about this, Leslie, is this was something that I thought about and I put together the very early learning stages of AI. This was probably back in February of 23. And I came up with this because, again, my project manager, Melissa, she homeschools her kids. And I thought, God, that's got to be tough. How do you do that? And so I just started asking, what if? And I came up with that whole process and questions. And
is that something other people can get? I mean, can you package that for people? I think that
I could. Yeah, I could. I didn't. It was very selfish. It was just for that one instance, but I could certainly put it together and make it available. I'll do that and put it in the show notes.
One of our family members is a teacher, and I'm going to see her this weekend. I'm going to bounce that off of her and see what she thinks about it. Now, she teaches 2nd grade, so I don't know how effective it would be in 2nd grade because everything's sort of tactile at that point. But I'd be curious to have her teacher perspective on that, just to see.
Well, you could take that to a whole different level. You're saying, well, we can't afford to put computers in every room. Okay, that's okay. What if you had teachers that were tested on how they taught, and now all the little Johnnies who did auditory went and saw Leslie. All the visual people came and saw Jeff. And now they're learning the same thing, only at the level that they learn at.
Seriously, you are a genius.
Thank you. So
No, I mean that with my whole heart. I mean, that is literally brilliant.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on. That was 5.5. So now we're to number 6. What is Stump Jeff Day?
Oh, What numbers? Actually, it's number 7 because five and a half was number half of number 6.
Oh, sorry,
So
sorry.
that's okay. So, we've kind of already talked about this. So, the legal and regulatory uncertainty of using AI, because AI law is basically, we're on the Wild West, right? Because somebody's got a badge on, I don't know who it is yet. And so the rules are changing every single day. And it's important to understand that what's okay here in the US may not be okay in Europe or some other place and could get you in trouble, because there's all kinds of things about freedom of speech and different ways to use the internet, because a lot of that's coming under scrutiny today. So, what is your opinion about how to navigate those waters in the AI world, other than what we've already talked about?
Yeah, I think if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur and you're navigating the waters in your local environment, you can probably go down to the state level and say, or again, I'm not an attorney. I don't even play one on TV or on the internet, but you should probably check on those things and just pose the question, hey, this is what I'm doing. Am I breaking any laws? Or are there things that I need to know before I go forward?
Right.
And like with my attorney or my group of attorney, is there is someone within their firm that specializes in artificial intelligence and digital marketing, and so I can ask them very specific questions, and they pretty much know the answers. If you're going to go beyond that, let's say you go to state by state, I could sell this anywhere in the United States. Then you need to look at the federal level and then internationally. Yeah, you go to Europe and the rules like are very different there. Very different. In fact, I just saw that one of I think it was Google, just paid a really hefty fine. I think it was Google, just paid a really hefty fine because of the way they gathered data. It went against their, I think it's called GDPD or whatever, their privacy program, and it was a big fine. And this is a major player worldwide. You got to know the rules in each location.
Well, back in the day, and it's been somewhere in the last 20 years, okay, way after email became popular. We had to add a disclaimer, a regulatory disclaimer, into our email signatures about using email and the data of that. Are there any statements like that that need to be added to content at this point to protect you on an AI basis?
Oh, that's another good question. I haven't been informed to do that, but I think it's probably wise to do it up front. Like as an example, let's say for instance, if I used AI from a standpoint of it's handling my tasks. In other words, let's say it's I've got it set up to read all my emails and generate responses and put them in my draft folder, and all I do is approve them or not. I might have some kind of disclaimer on there that this was written by my AI staff. But keep in mind, it's already been proven by law. Just because there's no out. If I say, well, wait a minute, I didn't say that, my AI did. Well, I'm responsible for that AI. So I just be careful about that. I would never send something out, straight away. I would never give my AI agent the ability to, at this point, I would never give them the ability to say, answer those emails and send them. Not
Right,
without me seeing them first. So
right.
yeah, I'd probably put some kind of disclaimer on there, and I think we're going to see that probably in videos or audios, this podcast, that kind of thing. We'll probably start seeing things like that. I think it's a wise play.
Well, I do a disclaimer on the documents and forms and stuff that I sell on my CBS, Concierge Business Solutions website, because I sell them and send it to them in a Word format, so that they can take and adopt them for their own business without
Ah,
having to. I hate getting something in PDF that I have to completely redo. So I have a disclaimer on there that says, these are just for educational purposes and use at your own risk. And, there's no guarantee of anything, because these days everybody's liturgic. Is that the right word? They want to sue everybody.
litigious.
Litigious. Thank you. I couldn't get the right word up there. So I think the best thing to do is probably to use AI when you're doing it for marketing purposes in particular, to use it with caution and document all your processes, which is a good practice regardless in business. You need to document your processes because that way, if and when, if you did have to get involved in some kind of litigation, you would have everything your lawyer would need, your attorney would need to defend you because you would have kept track of exactly what you were doing, why you were doing it, how you were doing it, so that in the event that something comes up, you're protected. That doesn't mean you're will be protected. And obviously, as Jeff said, neither of us play attorneys on TV, so we always recommend that you seek your own counsel on anything legal. But we can tell you what we do, and that's what we do. We document all our processes and keep track of how and where and why we do stuff. Okay. Anything else on that topic there?
No, I want to circle back. It's called General Data Protection Regulation, and it was effective as of May 25th, 2018. So it's been around, 7 years, almost exactly 7 years, and it establishes a high level of protection for individual personal data and harmonizes data privacy laws across the EU. And it applies to organizations that collect, store, and hold personal data. Now, we have some of those type of laws in the state, but the EU is so much more protected, if you will, or let's say there's levels of protection much higher than here in the US.
Right. Okay. So we're going to talk about implementation costs, and because really the purpose of AI right now is to make tasks easier, right? Or to automate tasks that are repetitious or boring or are just where your time would be better spent doing something else. I personally absolutely hate repetition. I want to automate as much of it as possible. However, ChatGPT, for example, which is the one I use, which is why I speak to that the most. I'm not obviously I'm not any AI you want to work with is fine, but that's the one I'm familiar with. Is free-ish. You can get a free version, but to get the real power, you need a paid version. And if you're going to use it to automate tasks beyond just creating content, right? You want to be careful that how much it costs. You need to do the return on investment, right? Because you don't want to spend $100,000 automating a task that you could outsource to $300 a month. And you're a perfect example of that because you have Melissa, right? So she's your human version of AI because she automates a lot of tasks for you, and she automates. She cuts down the amount of time that you have to personally spend, which is what we use ChatGPT for. So talk about that. How much it costs to actually use? You've talked about quite a number of different AI products in the first half of this. So what do you think about cost and implementation of these services?
Yeah, it's really easy to wake up one morning and you are a subscription magnet and you're in debt up to your ears because you have all the shiny objects. With that, you can do some things and all of a sudden you're going, wow, I have automated my task and it cost me, pennies compared to before. Like as an example, we have a program called the Content Accelerator, and that uses a few tools. We use ChatGPT, we use a platform called Airtable, and we use a platform called Make. And those three tools in combination cost us about $100 a month. But because of that, it produces tens of thousands of dollars a month out of content for our client and for our clients. So the ROI is very high. But I have even I start looking at things, and I meet with Melissa every Monday, and some of those Mondays we'll say, okay, because of things changing all the time, we'll say, well, what tools are we still using? Like there's a tool that we were very heavily reliant on called Synthesia. And Synthesia is it was the first one out there that we really liked that did a good job of creating avatars that we could put scripts in, and the avatar would deliver the message. Well, now we use it sparingly. So I've downgraded the membership. And that was even a situation where early on we would create an avatar, let's say of Leslie. I'd bring her in studio and we'd create an avatar, a video of her saying a specific script that would hit all the notes and make her lips do all the certain things. And then from that point over on, we could create new videos with Leslie on there. Well, then came along a product called HeyGen, and HeyGen, it's like $60 a month. It does that and much, much more. Um, so we've downgraded one and put another one on there. Uh, Probably the biggest one, Leslie, that was automated for us was a product called Loomly,
Oh,
and
I don't
and
really.
yeah, and just recently it I received an invoice in the mail or in my inbox where it went up significantly. I'm talking like from $89 a month to $332 a month. No
Wow.
change, just it just went up. And it made me, which a year ago I wouldn't have asked this question, but now because there's so many what we call no code tools, I don't have to know how to do coding to create them. Is I just got my developer, my designer, I said, look at this product, reverse engineer it, and make it for me. And I bought. He made it for me, and now I own it, and I only had to pay for it once, and it does all the things Loomly does, except I own it. I think that's going to be a change. So that saved me over $3,600 a year by having something like that.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of how we do our essential elements software. When I developed that originally, I started it, the first version of it was 2007, right? So it was very limited in what it did. And then over the years, as we've grown and we've added to it and added to it, and now, and I revamped the whole thing last year with an eye towards eliminating all the various AI tools or applications that people had so that they could have one single system because you can get app poor really quickly. And then trying to manage them all, keeping up with all the changes that come out, and trying to not have recurring tasks that you have to do all the time can be quite overwhelming. That's why it's important to have some, if you're trying to do content and marketing like you do, having a tool like the Content Accelerator is excellent. I can write my own uh, newsletters and do postings and stuff like that, although I have people that do it for me, but I could do it. But you have to do so much volume these days in order to get any attention and all the noise that's in social media, that having a tool that does a volume for you at a reasonable price is really important. I think one of the things that Jeff is not saying, and we're talking about to you listeners or viewers, is that he talks about numbers and he only has to pay this or only has to pay that. But that's not the whole bit of trying to develop content. That's just one piece of it. And I don't want somebody to hear this and say, oh, I could just buy this tool and for $60 a month, I could do what Jeff does. You cannot. Trust me. I have tried. You cannot do it. And so really you need to get those professionals and do the return on investment and say, how many do I get for this? Right? Because you may pay $60 a month and get 2 or 4, and that's it. And with you, if you pay if you buy the Content Accelerator or however you work that, you're getting hundreds. I mean, amazing amounts of stuff for a very small amount of money. So I just want to clarify that because I don't know if you're aware, but you made it sound like, oh, this costs nothing to do, and that's not true.
oh, right. I mean, yeah, these are just what I'm saying. These are the costs of the tools. It's not the it doesn't that's not the cost of putting it together and creating the content that we create, because this tool that we've created, the Content Accelerator, not only does it create a blog for you with 3 images, all the SEO, the titles, all that stuff, as well as a video, as well as the thumbnail for it, all the description, the title, everything, and 20 social media posts a week and an email. It does that for every client every week, and every Monday at 9 a.m. That's done, and then that's where Melissa steps in, and then she'll look through it and decide what it is, and then she'll distribute it for our clients. Now, the Content Accelerator, the program that we have, is a done with you program, so we do all that stuff except the publishing. Although, Leslie, I because of the situation with Loomly and the fact that we built this other piece on there, that now as it runs through the Content Accelerator, it used to be one of those things like, okay, it comes into to form, and then Melissa would take it from that point and put it on Loomly and post it. Now, and this is the evolution of cool, I think, is now we basically strap it on the end of the Content Accelerator, and as soon as it's approved by Melissa, it then distributes it automatically.
So you can do done with you or done for you.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, I haven't rolled it out yet, but because we're in the testing mode right now, is I thought, well, the first 100 clients, I'm not going to charge for the done for you program, which is $2,500 a month. It's going to be done with the done with you program, which is $699 a month. And that would be lifetime access. So I thought, since I own it now, I couldn't afford it if I'd done it with Loomly. It's too daggum expensive, right? But now that I've built my own product, it makes more sense. So there's an opportunity.
We did that too. I have a talent for seeing how software hangs together, as you know, right? I can look at it's like those pictures with all the dots in them. There's an image in there, and I can see it. I can do that with software. So I look at how an application is, and all of a sudden my brain starts going like this, and I see it. So we did that. We were using an app for managing tasks. I'll leave the name of the app out of it so I don't get sued or anything. But we were using an app for tasks, and it was getting really cumbersome to manage that, plus my software, plus an external calendar, plus an accounting system, all these things. And so I just looked at it one day and I said, you know what? I see what they're doing here. This is not that hard. And so I took that same logic, or what I perceived the logic to be, and put it in my system, and it works like a champ. And so now I don't have to have an external system to manage tasks or schedules or any of that. And so I think having one system that does multiple things for you, like your Content Accelerator, is an extremely good investment. Because you cannot build a business these days without social media content. And they keep changing the algorithms, as you know, and they keep changing how you get to the top of the list. And there's so much noise. I saw a statistic, I don't think I can 100% state it properly, but it was something like the speed with which video and content is going onto the internet is something like faster than all the grains of sand on the earth. And there's more of it than that. And all the stars. And I mean, it's just like the volume is unbelievable. I don't even know how it doesn't crash, to be honest with you, because you see, I'm addicted to Instagram and TikTok videos, and you see every Joe Schmo in the world is doing videos. It used to be just business people. It's not business people anymore. It's just people sometimes just talking. They just want to talk.
Well, we're a perfect example of it. We're making a video podcast, right?
I know. But we have a reason, right? we're actually trying to help people. We're not out there saying, these are my shoes. I'm not an influencer, in other words. There's influencers out there that are trying to get paid to just talk about products. I wish I had thought of that years ago, but I didn't. And so I didn't miss that boat, because we are promoting products, but I don't feel like I'm an influencer in the standard definition of an influencer.
If you're in that market, there's we talk about digital ads, how to get in front of your customer, and influencers. And there's a cool thing, and it's paid on performance, and it's a platform called WHOP, WHOP. You got to check that out, because it is WHOP. It's a cool product that basically someone that I started learning AI and automation from. He got involved in this and shared this with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because we're always looking at what is the best way to get to potential customers, and part of it is through influencers. Because if I can give something to Leslie, and she has 10,000 followers and I have 1,000, I can 10x my reach, especially
Right.
if she has my kind of customers. Well, this actually does that for you, and it's really a cool process. And you can do it as a hey, here's a product, here's a service. It's really pretty slick, and it's very inexpensive. And it's
Hmm.
I think it's the future, quite frankly, of paid advertising. So
Well, I'm gonna have to take a look at that because small business owners have very limited budgets for advertising. That's been one of my bones of contention for 20 years is that I've done billboards twice out here, but it's really cost prohibitive. It used to be, and I don't know what it is today, but it used to be $2,500 to do a month of billboards.
got to still be
Now,
high.
well, it's probably higher than that now because they have digital billboards and you can change the content on the digitals. To me, it seems like why should that be more? Because you could change the content every day if you want, and it takes somebody to push a button or type in a sentence, and yet they charge more for that. Probably because the cost of setting up those electronic the boards themselves.
More expensive.
I'm sure they've been paid over 25,000 times by now, but it's the cost of advertising for small business is very difficult. That's why you see billboards or advertisements of two companies together at once. Sometimes you'll see Taco Bell and something else together, burger. I think I walked into a Long John Silver's coupled with a Kentucky Fried Chicken. To me, other than Greece, I didn't see the correlation there, but they were both marketing together. And they were in the same facility too. But a lot of people will go together and buy advertising together because they can't afford it on their own. And when you talk to the advertisers, the people that sell advertising and say, what do you do for small businesses? They say, that's not my problem. And I'm like, but you're missing an entire market.
Well,
Because especially out here in the desert, that all of us are small business owners, everybody. So,
I had a situation like this with a company in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Fountain Hills, Arizona, and they are franchise owners, but they each own their own franchise. And so they asked me if I could help them, and I put it together as a package deal that there's two of them, and I would do the same level of work, but I would do it and split it for them. And I gave them a super competitive price. It was like $1,200 to set it up because I was going to drive out there, film the content because it's a very visual business, and then do all their marketing for them. And I do that once every 6 weeks. And I said, well, $1,000 a month. And they said yes. And then one of the people backed out because they thought they could do something less expensively. And I'm like, $1,000 doesn't even pay for me to drive over there. The only reason I did is because
no,
it was a family member who owns one of the franchises. And I'm like, I can't do it for any less than that.
right.
It's crazy. And so yeah, it is tough.
People forget that we're all in the business to make money, right? I mean, if you read the book, the goal of every business is to make money. It is not my measure of success, but it is the goal of every business. Otherwise, why would we work this hard? And I truly believe that if you offer a service or a product that makes somebody's life better, that the money comes on its own. You don't have to focus on the money. But that is why we're all in business. And people forget that. Like you said, when I was a family member, they pretty much figured you should do it for nothing.
She didn't. She didn't. She was like, I can't believe this other gal backed out, but I understand. So she said, can you do it for any less? She was just asking because now all of a sudden the burden is completely on her.
Right.
And I gave her a little bit of a break because she's going to let me stay with her when I drive over there. So I don't have any hotel expenses, but I still have cost of me in a car for 8 hours, 4 hours over, 4 hours back, and whatnot. So it didn't work out, but I always tell her, hey, if there's anything I do to help, let me know. But I don't know what they're going to do. That's crazy. You got to. And I don't want to get on a soapbox, but that's one of the things when people start a business, they rarely ever budget for marketing.
Yeah.
They buy the equipment, they buy the products, they get the trucks, they hire the people, and then it's like you just built it and hoping they'll come. And it's
Yeah. And
just
they
not
don't.
that easy. It's just not that
It
easy.
is. No, it isn't. And even though you've been spouting numbers left and right, I want to warn everybody that, which is a bad idea because we don't know how long this podcast is going to last, and prices could go up or they could go down. So you don't know. But everybody's situation is different. You have
Yeah.
a basic price for your stuff that covers the cost of the tools that you use and the knowledge and the labor it takes to review that stuff and make sure it gets out there properly. And so before somebody says, oh, but I can do this on my own, you can't. I'm going to tell you, because I am extremely capable and I can't do it. And you must be better than me if you can, because I can't. I have to go to Jeff and say, hey, can you do this for me? Because I can't do it, nor do I want to. That's the other thing. It would take so much bandwidth for me to, so much of my brain power to sit down and figure all that stuff out and create a calendar of information. I mean, even just that, the calendar of information is exhausting and overwhelming to me. The fact that I came up with the topics for these things today were, that was a miracle in and of itself. Usually I wing this.
I was surprised.
I know. I don't blame you. I usually wing it. But the point is that don't immediately make a decision based on cost. Take the time to think about how much is this going to free you up? What is the benefit to it? What is it going to bring you? Because we're talking about implementation costs. And so AI does make things easier, but Jeff and I have had this conversation many times. It's our brains that you're hiring, right? You're hiring our knowledge, whether you're hiring me as a coach or consultant or a speaker, or you're hiring Jeff as a trainer or a digital marketing person, or the telephone thing that he has. If you saw the first half of this show, you saw that he has this really cool product that allows you to be in two places at one time with your telephone. So you're hiring our knowledge and our experience and the ability that you don't have to make a bunch of mistakes, costly mistakes, to get where you want to be, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on to number 9 because we're moving along. So if AI writes your content or designs your logo, who owns it? Is it you, the AI company, the internet? Because you're now creating content for people. So who owns it? Do you own the content? Does the person who's paying you to create the content own it?
Yeah, that was always a question of like, well, I guess in that long list of read this before you use the product, at the end of the day, I believe that is actually the product. That's actually the ownership of AI. So this is one of the reasons why we take everything down, and there's going to be modifications to it. So at the end of the day, we own that. Whether it's a post, it's an article, it's a video, whatever it is, there's always modifications. So we actually are the owners of that. If you're just posting something straight away, like I had a conversation with another marketer out of Miami yesterday, and he explained to me how he uses ChatGPT to write articles for his clients. And I said, well, what's the process? I said, you check it. He says, no, I'm not the expert. He said, I create the content and I give it to the client and I post it on their website, and it's up to them. I'm like, wow.
Oh, no.
He said, and he's been doing it for 17 years. He said, because I am not the expert. He has that conversation up front that this is how I make the product. This is why it is the price it is. And it's your responsibility to double check and make sure this is working or that it's accurate. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't sleep at night knowing that, because I don't want to wake up in the morning with a phone call that says, hey, I'm in jail, Jeff, because the information that you wrote is inaccurate. I'm like, I don't want to have that happen. He's okay with it. I'm not.
Yeah.
Right.
Amanda's been doing my online posts. She just does my individual posts on Facebook, and then it goes to like LinkedIn and TikTok and all the different things. But I think twice in all the years, and I think she's been doing this about 10 years for me, and all the years that she's been putting posts out there, I've only had to go back a couple times and say, no, this one can't be this way. It has to read like this, or take off this particular word or something. You have to be liability conscious when you're creating this stuff, as you are, which thank goodness you are. That guy would give me a heart attack, that example. You have to be liability conscious and be aware that it is a litigious society and that people are looking for reasons to give you a hard time. And
Ah,
so there's people that just, what they call scrape the internet looking for stuff that they can go after you and sue you for. And so you want to be really careful. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. If you hire a reputable person like Jeff, uh, I was just singing your praises today, by the way,
sure.
but
I mean, geez, this.
somebody like Jeff, you know that you're going to be protected in that way, to the best of his ability. You know, that copyright law hasn't yet caught up with AI. So you want to think about before you slap your brand on something, you want to make sure that you've thought about all the repercussions of it, which is why you need somebody like Jeff or myself for my software, for example.
Well,
You
it
need
might
somebody
be.
who knows what they're doing.
And Leslie, that may be one of a great reasons if you're out there creating content or images or videos and you're using just purely AI content or AI to do that, to absolutely put something on there that this was created by AI with your assistance or without your assistance, whatever your bailiwick is, because it basically says based on U.S. law currently that is there's no clear delineation saying you own it or the AI owns it, and so it's still up in the air. There's no clear line that says. I just want to read this. It says based on current U.S. law, there is no clear ownership of content generated solely by AI. Now, solely by AI means that I ask it, it produces it, and I put it out solely by AI. I didn't do anything to it. When I alter it, changes that process. But neither the user, the AI tools creators, nor the AI itself can automatically claim copyright because copyright requires, and watch this, human authorship.
Oh, that's
So when
awesome.
yeah, so when we jump in and do something to it, change this, change that, write in our, put a paragraph in there, whatever it is, we can now claim authorship. Keep
Makes
that in
sense.
mind.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me because, and I didn't know that word was in there, and I've looked at the copyright stuff and have not seen. I did not notice that it said that about human intervention. So that's a good one to know. And again, that's why you go to the experts. You just this you do this as a full time gig. This is your full time job.
I
Can you
do.
imagine if somebody like me was trying to do this as one component of all the other things I do? It would be sloppy at best and inconsistent at worst. And the one thing about social media and marketing digitally is that you need to be consistent, right? Well, so two things. One is you need to be consistent, and two is you need to stay up with all the changes. I know you're right now changing for new algorithms
Yeah.
that are coming out, and it changes constantly. I don't know if that's Facebook driven or some other thing, or if it's Google driven or whatever, but all the algorithms change all the time, and part of the reason they do that is because of the volume of content that's out there.
Well, they're trying to make it better all the time. They're trying to
Right.
always, every time the algorithm changes, what they're trying to do is they're trying to filter out the bad actors, the people that are abusing, like as an example, keywords were really big. And so when somebody would just what we call stuffing keywords in there, AC repair, and every line, every sentence had AC repair in there and it had your city and state. That's called keyword stuffing. Well, when they changed the algorithm, they saw that and those people got weeded out and changed. And so, not all algorithm changes are bad. And if you do things right from the very beginning, I've said this before, we've been building content, organic content for clients for now, we're going on 15 years. And we've always done that. We've never keyword stuff. We create content that answers the problems your clients have that they would be searching for. So when we see algorithmic changes, it usually doesn't negatively affect us. It actually just enhances what we're already doing. The only thing that we had that had to change a little bit was when they came out with called EEAT, expertise, let's see, experience, authority, and trust. And that was, we added a little bit of stuff in there. But other than that, and we actually went back into our AI and we updated our prompts. So now it does that automatically. But other than that, we were never keyword stuffers. So when the algorithm changes, think of it really to say it's filtering out the bad players.
That makes sense totally. I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
that's good. I just see that results return 7,433, and I want to be at the number one spot on that. And so I don't know what happens to all those people that are down farther the list. Okay, but I want to be number one. So
Crumbs,
I,
baby, crumbs. They're eating
so
like
I
crumbs.
need somebody like you to make sure that happens. So we're going to
Here we are.
last question. Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da.
That oh yeah, I can't do that.
Sorry.
Okay, so I only use AI for business. Okay, so I taught it. I loaded lots of my content in there, my previous newsletters, my previous stuff. I worked on my stuff for the Freedom by Design through the AI, all that stuff. So it has a lot of my knowledge in there. So I don't see this happen very often, but I know that it can. So from a quality control and misinformation perspective, AI can actually hallucinate facts, right? It'll tell you that Abraham Lincoln invented the microwave if you're not paying attention to it. So you have to make sure. So, what do you think about that? Have you seen issues with misinformation, or is it really a case of either not asking the right prompt for it, or not loading enough of your own information in there so it knows how you sound and how you want to talk?
Yeah, part of that hallucination process is getting weeded out as the algorithm, or as the AI continue to advance. We see less and less of that. The other part of that is if you ask a bad question, or let's say if you ask a question that doesn't have the 6 steps of prompt engineering in it, you could get some really poor results and make you think, oh, this AI thing just doesn't work. It's like saying, oh, I ran a Facebook ad once and it didn't work. Well, you didn't know what you were doing because you were brand new. I would say that if it were me, I didn't know what I was doing. I was brand new. I'm learning. So I think it's a little bit of both, Leslie. I don't see hallucinations happen like I did in the beginning. When I say in the beginning, like in 2023, not that long ago, it would make
That's
it would
not
make stuff.
forever ago.
Well, they say that our brain hallucinates all the time. It puts things in that we think are missing. It's like almost like editing a video, and there was a little piece of that gone between this time and this time, and we filled it in using our imagination. We don't know if it's right or wrong, but it filled it in. Is that wrong? Well, if you use it different, like if you use it to convince somebody in a hallucination, like I say, no, I read it, Leslie, this is really what happened. But AI hallucinated, yeah, it could be wrong. But I think both of those things that you say, bad question, bad input, bad output. And second is the evolution of the AI with prompt engineering. When I started using prompt engineering versus conversational engineering, we saw the average result or output improve by over 300%.
Did I mess you up?
And there was a hush, over the room.
There's a hush over the crowd. I'm writing that down.
Well, no, I think what you said is spot on. And so if you were someone who tried Claude or ChatGPT or Grok early on, and you got something that said, aha, it's wrong. Well, it could be because I would go back and take a look at what you asked it, right? And then look at it again. And sometimes when it's wrong, here's something I want you to think about doing. If it says something wrong, tell them they did it and give them the right answer, and then try it again and see what it does. Because it's just like it's like it was let's say a year ago, it was like a toddler.
Yeah.
Today, true. It's like a teenager.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or 6 months from now, it's going to be like a graduate student with 4 degrees.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. So it just gets better and better because, hey, didn't we all as toddlers make stuff up? I almost said a bad word. Didn't we make stuff up?
They did, yes.
And as teenagers, And as teenagers, why weren't you home at 11 o'clock? You're supposed to be, well, because Sally's mom had a flat tire. She got caught in the rain. It hasn't rained in the desert in 4 weeks. What are you talking about? Making stuff up, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing from a business perspective, I think the thing to be careful of, first of all, you do need to load as much of your own content in there as possible. If you have never been doing newsletters and you want to start one, then you're going to have to load something else in there, either articles that you agree with and that follow your philosophy. You can say, this is not my content, but learn this because I believe in this from a philosophical perspective. Or something to that effect. You should never plagiarize or steal anybody's information ever. But when they start to write newsletters and stuff, you need to make sure, and we've talked about this, we've touched on this a lot, that you double check everything before you post it. Never post something blind or before you hit send, because it will come back and bite you. I like to take it when I tend to be very wordy. I know that you don't know that. But I like to take, especially emails that I'm writing to clients that may be over some kind of a situation that's a little delicate. I like to write what I would normally say, and then I plug it in and say, please make this professional, concise, and friendly. And then it'll come back with something better. It says the same thing, it just says it better. And I like that because I do tend to ramble, as you've seen. So, excuse me. So I definitely, there are ways to use ChatGPT to your benefit without turning over total control to it.
Something I want to share with you, and just to hitch a ride on the whole idea of writing or responding in my voice.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not sure what to put in there, why don't you just ask it? Hey, I would like you to start writing and responding in my tone of voice, in my version of me. What questions do you need to ask me for you to do that? Please make a list. And it will tell you what your likes, dislikes, and it'll give you a list of questions. When you fill that in, you have created, I'm going to call it your user profile. And now from that point on, you could have that response back. And it's true whether or not you said, hey, I'm just thinking about the stuff in my head. It's like, if I were an investor or I were somebody who wanted to get wealthy through investing, I guess same thing, is I would say, I want you to be, every time I ask about investing, I want you to be the mind and the wisdom of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. And because that information exists out there, when you ask it a question, guess how it's going to respond? Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. How cool is that?
That is cool. It's scary cool. I like stuff to come from me that is me.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said respond to something like somebody or use this person's philosophy and then apply it to mine, because everything I do is mine, and I like it that way because then I can genuinely say it's not going to plagiarize from anybody. It's all my thought process, how I operate, how I do things. And as you know, I don't coddle people at all because I am your coach and you know this. And so I don't want to get some coddly, soft pedaled response to something. That's not me. So it has to be me.
I don't disagree with that, but here's what I know about me. Make sure my wife's not watching. Is I don't know all there is to know, right? So
I don't either.
So as an example, let's as an example, there's a guy. His name is Russell Brunson. He created a company called ClickFunnels. These are sales funnels. There's no one on the planet that knows how to build sales funnels better than Russell Brunson. So if I want to build a sales funnel for Leslie and her Concierge Business Solutions program, I would say, this is what we're going to do. And I want you to access the knowledge and everything Russell Brunson knows about creating a successful sales funnel to help me build this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, wouldn't that be more helpful than me trying to figure it out on my own because that's the only
Yeah,
knowledge that I gave it?
that's true. I totally agree. Totally agree.
All
That's
I
why
got.
you're the that's why you're the digital guy. So what I would like to share, you're going to talk. You've got my learn.com
Oh yeah.
solution, but I wanted you to put up there about the content accelerator because that is such a cool tool and it will help so many people navigate this confusing world of social media and digital marketing. And they need to know where to find that, Jeff.
Putting it up as we speak.
Okay.
W's
You have a website, right?
wasn't expecting this. Like I said, this was unscripted, so I wasn't expecting this. Okay, so she's talking about the content accelerator, and that's at swingpointmedia.com. And what that is a product that I built, or I had built about February of last year. And I asked the question is, what if I had a tool that would create all this content at once, and then we would just have to proof it and then put it out? And I wanted to be able to say it could take one client or 1,000 or 10,000 clients at once, and it would still do its job. And that's where the Content Accelerator was born. And what it does every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, it creates for each one of our clients a blog that is SEO optimized. It's solving one problem for the client, and these are the most searched for problems that their ideal client would search for. It has the right
Regard,
title. What's that?
regardless of their industry, right?
Regardless of the industry, because as they come into the program, there's a simple form that they have to answer, this digital, and it basically tells their AI designed for them exactly what kind of content they need to make. So now when it makes this, all the content is relevant to their business. Um, it creates 2 to 3 images every time it makes a blog post. They're usually about 1,000 words, and it has all the SEO, the meta tag, the metadata, the structured data, all that's done. Then it takes that, and from that blog article, it creates a blog script. And then from that, once it's approved, we have another AI program that will create a video from that script. And then once it's approved, it moves on, and then it's cut up into all these the full video, but then it's also cut up into reels and shorts, which are very popular as far as getting people's attention. And then we also take that same thing and we create content for social media. And what we do is we create 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then we customize it for each platform. So we have 4 different platforms that we post on, and usually that's like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Google Business Profile. Those are probably the big 4 out there. If you want TikTok and things like that, yeah, we can do that. It's a little bit extra, but basically that's what we do. So you get 20 posts a week, plus you get an email if you have a database. Some people will say, well, I don't need an email because I don't have a database. No problem. So we do all of that, Leslie, every week for each client, and it's all optimized. Each one of your social media posts has an image. It's customized for that platform.
Business.
Just by the way, when we do that is because if you take something from one platform and put on another, its sizing may be wrong. It may need hashtags, not
True.
keywords. And so we know that. And so when it comes out, it's specifically for that. So it looks like it's what's called native to that platform, right? And we do that every week, and we do that for $6.99 a month.
That is
And
so cheap. You made me tired just explaining all the things that you do.
sorry,
No, because it's a lot of stuff, Jeff. I mean, literally, again, as a business owner, as a dual, I have 2 businesses, and trying to market those, and it would be impossible. That would be a full-time job to do all of that.
yeah.
And it's more than this app or this app. It is a system, and it's a system that gives you industry specific, your business specific information that sounds like you, that looks like you, that is targeted to your clients or potential clients, and a volume that can't be beat. I mean, how many posts a month is that out of 4 week month? Is 4.3 is what?
Yeah, so it gives you basically, one a week. So let's say there's 4 weeks in a month, so there's four, and then it would be 80 social posts a month, and then it would be four videos, and usually it works out to about 40 to 60 shorts, those little reels that are
That's a
60
lot.
seconds. And just to give you this happened yesterday. We know a gentleman, his name is Art Alvarez. He owns a company called Mortgage Works, and we on our Monday meeting with Melissa, she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "Mortgage Works is blowing up." And and again, keep in mind, he is a local mortgage company, right? He's not a big influencer, and it's not an exciting field. He does a great job. I just want you to understand, he's not like Shania Twain or Kim Kardashian, all right?
Right.
And so when we saw his performance the last 28 days, he's gotten over 10,000 views on his YouTube channel. That is blowing up. And the amount of time people are watching. Well, then yesterday, as I was walking out of a meeting where I was with him, he says, "Oh, I got to tell you something." He said, "I just got another new client, and when I asked him where they came from, he said I got it or he said I came because I watched your videos on LinkedIn." Like that's exactly what's supposed to happen, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it is a lot of things to
Well,
do. But you got to be everywhere. It's called omnipresent. You have to be everywhere.
you do these days, and you have to be instantly responsive for everything.
Yes.
And it's not easy to be a business owner in this day and age, even with all these tools,
Yeah.
right? My essential elements is similar, although it's a data collection system that it automates the running of your business and allows you to scale, right? You could certainly scale the content accelerator to increase the number of posts and stuff if you wanted to, but for the basic program, $6.99 a month is nothing. You
Yeah,
know,
because as you say that, I mean, yeah, I could tweak it and say I want to do five different platforms instead of four. And each week when it creates content, it actually creates four blog posts for every client, and then we choose one. We don't post all four, but we could do that, and then it runs it through the all process. So we look at it and say, "Yep, this is the best of the four," and then it does all the SEO and the images and titles and everything.
just SEO alone is another area that keeps changing, and how you do it changes, and it's just try to understand. I did good to understand pay per click back in the day. I did, that's a whole other story I could tell you another time about Google pay per click and Yahoo and the phone book, and which nobody uses anymore, and all that kind of stuff. And it was a nightmare. And so I just think what you're offering has immense value, and I'm going to promote it, I think, through my newsletter to some of my clients. If you're okay with that, I would love
I'm
to do
super
that.
okay with it. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I may have to have you send me some bullets, but I can.
Because I'll be honest with you, before we got that thing live, back it went from February. We probably went live in April 1st. We and no fooling, we went live April 1st. Is there was a point where saying, we had 17 writers on staff, right? Because they were writing all that content, and most of them have turned into people who now do other things for us, or they've said, "Hey, I'm just going to be a writer. This doesn't work for me." I understand that. But there was a point where I'm like, I'd love to have more people, but there's only so much we can do because it is so manual labor, if you will. It was so intensive. And now it's like there is no limit on how many we can do.
I know it's amazing, and I think every small business owner should be taking advantage of it, because to somebody who's just starting out, $700 a month sounds like a lot of money. But you have, again, you always have to do the return on the investment, right? So when I did billboards, remember I told you they were like 12 or $1,500 for one billboard. Um, I knew that I had to get at least one good client or two average clients out of that billboard to make it worth doing. I already had done the math and I figured that out. And every time we did it, we hit that target. So in a way, it cost nothing to do because I got the return on it. But it takes a whole year then to break even, and then you have to start doing it. So, people should understand what return on investment means. And if you don't, call us, we'll explain it to you. Return on investment so that you can make smart decisions for your business. Why you would try to do one at a time stuff when you could do everything at once is beyond me. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and over the years, most people will say when I would offer that program and I would tell them what it would cost, they would say, I can't afford to do all that. What if I just did this? And I'd find myself piecemealing it. And then about a year ago, I started saying, listen, if I just do this one thing, you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to be happy with me because it's like putting one leg on a table. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
And you need to do the whole thing or let's not do any of it because
Right.
it's just not going to work. It's really a waste of your money. But if there was one thing I would recommend you do, it would be writing a blog or having a lead magnet that generates leads for your email and get an email list going. There would be one or two things. If you had to do one or two things, that's all you had money for, that's what I would recommend doing. You did it on your own. But you're going to spend that much just on one of those two things, or you can get the Content Accelerator and get the whole shebang.
So this has been really interesting today. I think you're surprised. It was more in depth than you expected, right?
Super surprised.
And we didn't even stump you once. It was amazing.
And I didn't see these questions. I was shocked. I thought for sure I was going to say, I don't know that answer.
You never said that. But here's the thing. All these questions came from ChatGPT.
Oh. Excellent.
I went in there and said, what are the top 10 concerns or issues with AI? And this is what it gave me. And they were absolutely on point.
Wow.
Because I went through it and those were all accurate. So, I learned a lot today about AI as well. It's one thing to use, I'm not even scratching the surface of what's available. And you've already mentioned 10 different options for other AI applications and things it can do for you. And I see them on Instagram constantly. And it got to the point where I was sending myself the email so I could look at them and then research. And there were so many of them, I gave up. I was like overwhelmed. Again, a reason for somebody like Jeff, who does all that research, who figures it all out, who optimizes it and takes the best of each little piece so that your business can be as efficient and marketing savvy as possible. I don't care how small you are, you have to have some marketing savvy out there. And he's your man. I like it.
Appreciate this. This was a lot of fun, Leslie. I really, it makes me think is, again, my marketing is like, okay, so what I need to do is now give instruction to my editor or Melissa and say, hey, every time she asks me a question, cut it up there and let me do the answer, because if those are the top 10 questions that are being asked, I need to answer them. Those are perfect. Right. Those are perfect tools for me. So if you see this cut up out there somewhere, guess what happened? It's all Leslie's fault.
Well, I can send you the questions, or you can just cut up this video, whichever you want.
Well, we'll cut up this video. Yeah,
okay.
Because it's basically 2 episodes of content. This is fantastic. I'm good for the next 6 months on content.
for the Content Accelerator, anyway. And you did get and don't forget about my Freedom by Design educational series too. So, yeah,
let's take a second to talk about that.
Well, we talked about.
You can take us up.
Sure. Freedom by Design, Build a Business that Runs Itself, is the roadmap or the puzzle, how to put your puzzle together to build a business that is successful and will run well without your constant supervision, or what I like to say is that you're working on your business and not in your business. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. A lot of people think that they're the only ones that can do stuff, and it's so easy. There's such easy steps and logic and let's see what I'm looking for. Not philosophy. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It'll come to me after we're done. There is so easy strategy. There's so many strategies out there and things you can do to make it uh, simpler for yourself. And we all start businesses, right? To um, get away from the man, right? We want to be our own person. We want to have autonomy. We want to make our own decisions. We want to be responsible for our own lives, and we want more freedom in our life and better balance. But unfortunately, what happens, because most people don't realize that when you start a business, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And it's one foot in front of the other every single day for years at a time. And a lot of people get discouraged and quit. And so rather than follow that difficult path, why not follow this prescription or this roadmap to do it efficiently and easy? Just like you do at the Content Accelerator, I can teach you how to run a business. I can teach you how to run it, and Jeff can market it for you, and you'll have everything you need, and you'll be all set to go, right?
1-2 punch.
That's right. So go to learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com and check out this educational program. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's really a fun video. We had a ball making it. Jeff didn't do my videos, but he was there cheering me on and telling me when to straighten up and fly right and make sure I read my teleprompter properly, which that was a whole new experience. I thought I did really well, actually.
I did very well, yeah.
Because before, when I tried to do it, I was just a mess. But all of a sudden, it just clicked. I think it helps when you understand the content. When you know what you're talking about, it's a lot easier.
Well, and you wrote all the content, so it's extracted knowledge from your head and just talked it out. Yeah.
You'd think my head would be empty by now, but no, alas, it's not. So
it's made more space for new stuff.
But it's getting ready to go on vacation pretty soon. I can't wait.
But don't freak out, because that won't interrupt the show, because we tend to try to record a few episodes. But when she gets back, we'll find out where she went and how it went.
That's right. And
don't tell us where you're going.
I'm not, and I'll find out whether I had to work on my vacation or not. Ooh.
That's right. Will it work while she's away?
That's right. Can I practice what I preach? I think I can.
How long are you going to be gone?
2 weeks. 9 days. 9 days on the vacation, and the rest is all travel.
Gotcha. Well, Leslie, this has been a blast. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to encourage everybody to realize that when you join learn.conciergebusinesssolutions.com, when you join that program, you also have a support program that she has called the Concierge.
It's the Center for Concierge Business Education.
Center for Concierge Business Education community on Facebook that you become a member of. And based on how you join, you get free entry up to lifetime. And it's a great place. Yeah, up to a lifetime, because Leslie also comes in there and communicates with everybody. So when you have questions, she'll answer those. You don't have to be a lifestyle manager to be part of this program. It works for everything. There's, as she says, there's principles and strategies that work in everything. That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for a shooting star answer. You're looking for a foundational answer.
That's right. Industry benchmarks. That's what we do. I've been doing that my whole entire career. So something I know very well. And
if running a business feels like a puzzle, that's what this is based on. She will help you put it together one piece at a time. Leslie, as always, it's a treat. I really appreciate you doing this. It was a lot of fun, you trying to stump me, and and I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Twisted, Bent, and Exhausted Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Jeff Harrison, along with my lovely co-host,
Leslie Spoor from Concierge Business Solutions. And Leslie, we are here to make your life better.
See you on the other side.
Bye.